Alrighty guys, welcome back to the Dreamhack Winter Corsair Vengeance Soda 2 Cup where, well, I'm joined with Draskell and this is Natus Vincere Na'Vi up against 3D Max.
It should be a pretty good game. 3D Max showed they had some potential going up against AL earlier. They didn't have the greatest mid-game, but it showed they definitely know how to lane. They can take advantages from it. If their teamfight coordination is there, we could be seeing an interesting game.
Yeah, and Na'Vi going with a familiar sight with their two bans, the Wisp Magnus, the same two heroes they banned against AL, not wanting to verse that annoying Wisp, and have managed to pick up a trio of heroes with a lot of firepower in the early to mid stages of the game. It's something they're going to try use up against the duo that 3D Max so far. They've got the Templar Assassin, Na'Vi with the Jakiro, the Sven, the Windrunner.
I really like the fact that Na'Vi always bans out Wisp. There's just so many things to partner with it that you leave yourself so wide open if you leave that hero in the pool. And taking a Sven, honestly, he's kind of the flavor of the month hero. Everybody likes to run him, especially in tri-lane situations. You get Stormhammer Warcry buff recently, now you get 16 armor level 4. It's absolutely ridiculous for lane control, and you can just be really, really active around the map. Plus, he's a hero who makes a BKB, so against heroes like Darksteer in the late game, you get very high physical damage output against heroes who would make BKBs themselves, like Templar Assassin.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. Na'Vi go from last game against AL, ignoring the hero. It got through the first pick, the first ban, the second ban stage. It never got actually considered as a pick for either team. But this game around, they pick it up nice and early. And like you say, a great hero to have at late game with a BKB against Templar, Darks. You can just rip through those heroes. And they've got really the disables to combo it. They've got the Jakiro Ice Bath. They've got the Windrunner who, if you land those shackle shots, which Light of Heaven tends to do, you're basically guaranteed that Sven will get the opportunity to just cleave down a couple of heroes.
I'm really interested to see what 3D Max is going to go for as their third, because they have a very strong offlaner already. They're obviously going to be sending the Templar Assassin mid, which in itself I'm a bit surprised we haven't seen more TAs this tournament so far. I think she's been banned once or twice, but more often than not, you always see people picking the mid laners first because so many teams put pressure on that lane to perform well, and TA is obviously one of the best in the business when it comes to dominating your lane and going into mid, but it looks like 3D Max is going to go with the Venomancer.
Yeah, just go for that strong support, really control those lanes. Venomous Gale being that strongest level 1 stun, and just level 1 stun, what am I talking about? What's happened to this Venomancer? He's been revamped. Strongest level 1 slow, does decent damage over time, and makes Venomancer just a really potent tri-laning force, something which 3D Max may want to do with these last two picks of theirs. They've got the offlane solo in Darkseid, they've got the solo mid for Templar Assassin. They need to round that off with 2 more heroes for the tri-lane.
Well, so far, Na'Vi has a really, really strong lane setup themselves. The one thing about Jakiro is that typically, when you first pick him, you always want to pick aggressive heroes to partner with because, again, he's very great defensively at lower level, but in a tri-lane situation, he's actually relatively weak in terms of overall damage output, so that's why you pick heroes like Sven with him, and some people have even gone as far as to pick up Lina for just follow-up burst damage to ensure that you can get those kills early on, but we're going to see Undying banned out here, along with Dirge coming out of Na'Vi, so obviously not wanting to play against very strong early and mid-game heroes. Undying has been seen time and time again to just completely dominate if he has a decent start.
Yeah, next out for 3D Max is going to be the Leshrac of Havos, something which did make it through last game round in the second stage, did get picked up by Na'Vi, and could be that sort of that second support here to go with that tri-lane of theirs with the Jakiro, the Sven. Maybe we see some kind of jungle for Puppey, but Chen has been taken out, so the options are getting somewhat more limited here. Tide Hunter, the last ban for Na'Vi, just somewhat worried about the team fight from 3D Max. If they have the Tide Ravage to sort of get Darkseer in position, and also just to provide Templar Assassin the space, the crowd control, to really get off those big meld attacks and just do a lot of damage on some of these squishy-ish looking heroes.
There are a lot of squishy heroes right now on Natus Vincere, but the thing is, Jakiro has relatively good stat gain, so as the game goes on, he's not going to feel really too pressured by things like Gale or anything like that in itself. The TA is going to be basically the one who calls the targets here and decides who they want to go on. The one downside, though, to playing a Templar Assassin against a Sven is that Meld is only -8 armor at level 4, and you have +16 from Warcry, and he doesn't even need to max it necessarily. Some people have actually opted to go for the Cleave build nowadays, with just 2 points into the Warcry to completely offset the negative armor portion of Meld and make TA that much less of a force in the mid-game.
Yeah, Sven actually make, like you say, nice little counter to these physical attack, physical damage type lineups, and that's something with 3D Max with these last 2 picks probably look to go a bit heavier as far as nuke damage goes. Look at where the team fight comes in. Try get some heroes with some AoE nukes, something which can just provide an additional source of damage. They can't be entirely relying on the Templar Assassin. Na'Vi, they go for a hero that Havos used to play a lot, plays every now and then recently. Mirana for him. And that's going to be are we looking at a safe lane Mirana here, or maybe even a solo mid Mirana? Could even be Denthi on that solo mid Mirana.
It is a definite possibility. The thing about Mirana is she scales exceptionally well with levels. A lot of people kind of forget that because she hasn't been seen a whole lot recently. But the thing is, if you get max level Starfall and Arrow relatively early, her burst damage output is actually quite high, and she does have semi-carry potential. Plus, they recently changed her ultimate now to where you can feasibly get it before higher levels because the mana cost has been reduced greatly. So she has good teamfight utility. You can get free engagements, and with lineups with Sven, Jakiro, Ice Pass, that means you're going to have shackle shots much easier to land. I mean, Na'Vi has really good initiation right now.
Yeah, the Sven is one of those heroes who his real weakness is that he can get kited around. And oh, there we go, another hero who needs to get put into place. Axe is the last pick for Na'Vi. And it's really, I feel the Mirana here is a key component here. Have that low mana cost on the ultimate, and that gets the Sven, the Axe, in a position for the battle hungers, for the call from Axe, for Sven just getting the stun and getting those right clicks off. It's going to be a key component of this lineup for Na'Vi. Keeper of the Light for 3D Max. That's going to be a squishy looking support hero as well as the Venomancer. Two heroes which could become food fodder for Na'Vi.
Keeper is very squishy, but we also have to keep in mind that Illuminate is really long range, especially if you channel it. Once you get to higher levels, you can counter push amazingly well. Na'Vi, when you pick a lineup like this, you kind of have to assume they're going for early game aggression. They don't have necessarily the greatest push in the world, but if they get kills, they're able to tower dive, do things like that. They can get early game towers. The downside is when you're against a Keeper, base defense, getting your first tier towers down if you're Na'Vi is going to be really, really difficult for you because it doesn't really take much, and Tiny, last pick out here from 3D Max, so we're looking at potentially a carry Tiny as well.
Yeah, they need some sort of DPS to go in the late game. Tiny will match up okay against the Sven using that Crag Exterior. And Na'Vi, look at the players picking heroes here. This is something completely unexpected, possibly an Arsat support. Sven Dendy's going to be playing the Jakiro, solo mid Jakiro coming out. Puppey, somewhat as expected, is going to be going on that Axe, probably into the jungle. And, well, 3D Max, they have their work cut out for them up against Na'Vi, going with an unconventional line, but this is what Na'Vi loves to do, especially in these sort of low-pressure matches. They're already through their group, having picked up 2 wins, and a loss here, at worst, it could put them into that second position in the group, but either way, they did win over AL, so they're looking pretty good to go through as first in their group.
This is going to be a really interesting matchup. I've had the opportunity to watch Jakiro versus Templar Assassin before, and sometimes people like to go for the level 1 Liquid Fire just to be able to eat through Refraction, really push the TA back, because honestly, as a TA, you have no range, and most people, if not all, are going to go Refraction at level 1, which means your attack range is quite small, and Jakiro can just harass you so easily in that situation. He started with a 3-branch Tango, so he's definitely going to be going mid. I just don't know if it's going to do so well against Dendy on the Jakiro.
Yeah, and to introduce the rest of this Dire team, Team 3D Max, currently with 1 win, 1 loss. A win here could maybe sneak them through the players. We have got Hestro Rodden playing the Templar Assassin, Hawaii 0-0 on the Keeper of the Light. We've got Noya playing the Tiny, Hiyak playing the Venomancer, and then finally it's Ace playing that Darkseid for them, probably going into that off lane. But it'll be interesting to see what 3D Max are going to do. Right now, 5 heroes rotating towards the top lane.
We got Na'Vi checking their own jungle. For Na'Vi, it's going to be Havos playing on that Mirana. Then we're going to have Puppey playing Axe, Dendy on that Jakiro, likely going to be going mid, Light of Heaven down here on the Windrunner, and that of course leaves Ars Arc here on the Sven.
Well, possibly, yeah, support Sven from Arsad, and for Na'Vi, this is really interesting. Double Stout Shield coming out from Puppey, so really want to maximize that damage block to have in that jungle. Dendy, the solo mid Jakiro, rushing that bottle. He's gone for the same build as the TA, the triple branches with the Tango, and he's going to be looking to use that Jewel Breath just to chip away at the refraction from the TA, and it does sort of act as a nice semi-counter up against TA. Not to mention if TA is going out for runes, maybe you get a couple points in the Liquid Fire, maybe you look to pressure that tower. If you get early Liquid Fire, it really will just whittle away at the tier 1 and slowly punish 3D Max for TA leaving the lane.
What's really great about it too is the fact that at level 1 Liquid Fire is a 20-second cooldown, whereas Refraction is exactly the same. So as long as you wait for the Refraction to come up, you can knock it off every single time with Liquid Fire, and it ticks 5 times. So up until level 4 Refract, you actually eat the entirety of Refraction with just 1 auto attack.
Yeah, and it is going to be Puppey heading into that jungle here. Top lane, Light of Heaven with the fast boots. This time playing that off lane, not the safe lane solo. He's not going to have the best time with this top lane up against a pretty scary looking, well, right now a dual lane here. Ace actually heading towards the top lane with that Darkseid. Keep it all hovering around the mid lane, but just Venomancer alone with this level 1 DD rune is going to cause him a lot of problems getting near this XP range. He has got boots, so Winner and Light of Heaven just trying to kite him around using that movement speed of his as well as that superior range.
He has to be really careful though, because Venomancer is a hero. Well, normally you can get away with boots and just having Windrun against regular stuns, but Gale lasts so long that if he gets caught in a bad position, even with boots, he could be in a lot of trouble there.
Yeah, and right now Light of Heaven decides not to poke out. He knows that DD rune stop on Venomancer going to be wearing off soon. Then maybe he looks for that opening to come out to the lane. 3D Max opting to just completely abandon the bottom lane. Darkseid is in that jungle. They've pretty much gone for a tri-lane with a solo and then a jungler. This is going to be complete utter free farm for Havos at the bottom lane, which means that Axe can just use these pulls, use the farm in the neutrals. Then you've got Sven, Arsat stacking the small camp as well. So Na'Vi don't have to have their support heroes in this bottom lane, whereas 3D Max, they've got their support heroes trying to zone out the Windrunner from top lane.
And they're maximizing their efficiency quite well, but of course, what else are you going to expect from a team the caliber of Na'Vi? And interestingly enough, middle isn't going so well for Dendy right now. He is going for the fast bottle build, so he has a little bit less regeneration than the TA that he's going up against. But in reality, it's going to still be a struggle because no matter what hero you pick against a TA, it's still a TA, and ultimately you're going to find your farm.
Yeah, and so the great thing about this Sven just being there with Puppey is he's stacking these camps with Puppey. Puppey's already level 3 with the help of Sven, stacking some of these small camps, getting him that faster levels. Arsat going to leak some of this XP just because he knows he's going to need that Warcry later on to give the plus armor to help deal with this TA. But so far, it's Na'Vi being slightly more efficient with their time. The support heroes for 3D Max need to start doing some neutral stacks of their own. They've got Keeper of the Light, one of the best heroes to actually stack up neutral camps and kill them down fast with.
The thing that kind of worries me about 3D Max is that they have pretty good physical damage with the TA, and a hero like that kind of makes everyone a target. But again, the Warcry from Sven, that's going to hurt them so much during the mid-game. I really feel like the later the game goes, you get a couple of heroes with BKBs or just to tank up a little bit, and I feel as though 3D Max's composition falls off a lot after the mid-game.
Yeah, and Lighter having a top lane, trying to pull this creep wave, just get some XP, basically ruin the creep equilibrium of his own just a little bit, as he is going to find himself quickly, the Venomancer rotating in, trying to just prevent him from using those pools, prevent him from getting any farm, any XP. Light of Heaven, still just level 1, hasn't got any points of XP yet.
That's really unfortunate. Obviously, being zoned out this badly, it's just, again, attributed to the fact that Venomancer is one of those heroes that can pressure you so badly, even with an escape mechanism, that you feel like you can't actually go on and get anything done. Yeah,
he's just getting blasted away at this top lane. He's really struggling. He's got regen here, he's got boots. And the good news is coming from his support heroes who are in the jungle, the Axe as well as the Sven, who are getting levels. But it's going to be mid lane. Here comes the Venomancer as well as Darkseer. Dendy in all sorts of trouble. Ice Path gonna not hit anyone. He is going to slow down the advance of the Venomancer. The chase is now on. Surge onto Venomancer. Dendy going to drop. This is going to be your first blood. 3D Max. Give up a kill on Dendy. Templar Assassin picks up as well, and that is exactly how 3D Max wanted to start off this game.
That was a really nice smoke gang timing. They had no idea it was coming. They don't have any vision up here either, so it was very well executed. They managed to get a kill, especially where it counts. If that had continued to go on, where Na'Vi was pulling the jungle, getting it Puppey those levels pretty much at the rate that they were, it would have been a very, very sad early game. But now they give their TA some breathing room, and honestly, he was doing quite well even before that, so now he should be feeling a lot safer.
Yeah, for me, Tiny alone, he takes a lot of time to get into the game. He's going to really have to sort of scale him late. Oh, Dendy, is he actually going to get this kill? He's going in on, TA just gets away on about 30 HP there, but TA, if you give away that kill, that's that early game advantage. You immediately throw it away, but TA will hop back to base with the little frog, as the courier does get upgraded now. And Light of Heaven at top has managed to hit level 2, so did find some openings to get some XP in this top lane.
That's going to help him a lot. Now he doesn't have to worry about really just dying flat out to eating a straight Gale. He's able to get away right there, even though it did land. And bottom, I mean, Mirana is definitely a semi-carry, but it's not a super hard carry. It really depends on how the player wants to build them. A lot of people in the past would go like Phase Manta, Drum, something like that. Or if you want to go for more physical damage, you pick up Mjolnir or MKB and just try to be that ranged hero with an escape mechanism who can still do the damage output that you need during mid-game. But they're pretty much not doing anything to contest them, so they're really relying on their Tiny to make the transition into the mid-roll, and they're also relying heavily on this TA mid.
Yeah, Tiny will take a lot more time to come into play, which is where this good start for TA, getting the first blood, having some decent-ish early game farm is going to help. Dendy actually taking over the TA. TA being kept down to just 12 creep kills because of the pressure being put on from Dendy. And look at Dendy's build. He's maxing out Liquid Fire. Na'Vi are just going to look to push, I imagine. Using this Liquid Fire, it's pretty much designed, if you're maxing out first, it's designed to take out towers really fast. At level 4, it has that short 5-second cooldown, 5-second duration, and slows the attack speed of towers by 50% and does a ton of damage as well. Oh wow, Tiny just completely KOs Light of Heaven in the top lane. Immediate buyback from him. Not what he was hoping to find at that top lane. And Tiny, a kill's going his way. He's got those fast phase boots, allowing him to get that opening, allowing him to get that kill.
Yeah, another kill on the board there for 3D Max, and not to mention, bottom lane Na'Vi, again, they don't have the greatest push in the world. They're up against a Darkseer. They do have a double stun if they manage to catch him out, but ultimately, he's been playing very well this game. Ace has stayed very far back, not going to get storm bolted and counter shit with the air or anything like that. And because this Ion Shell is here, they have no method of getting to this tower quickly, whereas top lane, Light of Heaven's already died once. If they kill him again, with the Tiny, of course, and Plague Wards coming out from the Venomancer relatively soon, this tower
they want Light of Heaven again. Gale goes in. There is no mana for Toss, but with the phase boots, Tiny not going to commit for this one. Light of Heaven does get out of there. The win run dodging a couple right clicks from this Tiny, who does pack a punch, but it is Na'Vi who are going to be on the back of mid lane.
Then he retreating back to the tower, actually turns around. Decides that there's no way they're going to be able to take him out right there. But then he's actually been getting pressured quite a bit here in the middle lane. TA trap's going to go off. Looks like TA doesn't want to actually pursue the kill. but stops him from getting the rune in the process. And this really, really hurts Dendy because there are 3 heroes basically committing themselves to holding him down and buying TA at the time that she needs. And I don't know if Navi's really getting the best out of it right now.
Well, Navi going to rotate Axe towards mid lane. He takes the bottom rune here. Dendy, oh wow, he just gets annihilated at mid lane by a meld. Here comes Axe Puppey. Does he have the ultimate? TA is below 300 HP. Puppey doesn't actually pop the ultimate. He just wants to get the kill with the Battle Hunger damage. Ulti does get used. Oh, Keeper of the Light now going to be the second to fall if Puppey can get another right click. He does do so. Double kill for Puppey. The Jungle Axe shows up, takes out 2, and now he's going to run. Now he's going to find some way of getting out of here.
A bought back T actually throws down the trap. A couple more auto attacks. He's going to try to deny himself the neutrals. Is he actually going to get it? He does! Wow, the Ursa Clap goes off because the melee creep was in range. 3 heroes means Ursa collapse and free deny there for Puppey.
Well, that's a win for him. Na'Vi are behind. 2 kills to 3 pretty much. That 4th kill is going to those neutral creeps here. The good news for Na'Vi is they've got Mirana free farming at the bottom lane, but this is compared to the Tiny. They're pretty much similar as far as farm goes. 37 creeps to the Tiny, 43 for the Mirana. Both heroes having relatively uncontested farm here, and this is going to be that sort of carry Tiny build we've sort of come to see and really know a lot.
Hayek's actually in a bit of trouble. Dual Breath goes off after the Macro Pyre. Is he actually going to tick down? It doesn't look like it. Dendy getting chased back towards his tier 1. There's the trap. He pops his wand. Here comes Ace though from the side. Iron Shell goes off. Illuminate hits as well. Is there going to be any help from Na'Vi? It looks like there won't be, and Dendy drops once again in middle, and Ace picks up the kill.
Well, Dendy's 3rd death of this game. He is not having a fun time at this mid lane. It's come from the rotation from these support heroes. 3D Max abandoned the bottom lane, and they've had Keeper of the Light coming in to provide backup at mid. They now bring the Darks here as well, and it's not been fun for Dendy at mid. Puppey coming in once again. He's gone for a very fast buckler here, trying to rush a mech maybe, something which will cause him some mana problems, but a fast mech will give Na'Vi a really strong push with that max out Liquid Fire.
They're really going to need to think about pushing soon, too, because they haven't gotten a single tower, and in all honesty, they are getting farm on 2 important heroes. They're going to have decent initiation with the Axe, and they're going to have that Mirana ultimate to get into team fights, but I'm not really sure if it's really worth farming the Mirana at this point if you're losing your other lanes like this.
Yeah, I feel that Mirana's not a hero who can just suddenly turn the tides of the battle. Has actually picked up Morbid Mask. I wonder what Havos, maybe fast Helm the Dominator, pick up a neutral creep and just use that. It's a fairly cost-effective item, gives you some damage, gives you the lifesteal, but very fast Mask of Madness or Morbid Mask coming out from him.
I'm a little bit surprised myself because when you're playing against a hero like Tiny, you have Illuminates. They're going to be coming off sometimes from Fog. You're not going to be able to react fast enough unless your Leaf is off cooldown. So we're looking at the possibility of Havos just getting completely annihilated instantly.
Oh, mid lane now, Templar Assassin just dodges the Ice Path. Those phase boots keeping him alive there. As he gets hit by that, Puppey could follow it up with that Culling Blade. Puppey really having a fantastic start. He's up to level 9 already. He is the highest level in this game in that jungle. Helped out by the Sven, who was doing some of those neutral stacks for him. And he's come out, got some kills, helped out this mid lane. Well, not so much helped out Dendy, but just helped himself to some kills. As, top lane, Light of Heaven getting caught out again. Tiny with the toss. Windrun's being popped. One more right click. Tiny picks up another kill on Light of Heaven. Both Dendy and Light of Heaven having a really bad start.
Yeah, they keep getting picked off over and over again, and the reality is the Axe pretty much has to stay in the jungle to continue his farm up, and he's but a buckler, so he's probably going to be going for a mech himself. He's got 2 Stout Shield as well, which is a little bit interesting. There's a huge stack, though, here in the jungle he's going to be trying to take. Get more gold, probably go for the fast mech, finish it up, try to take some team fights, but the thing is, the heroes that have to have high impact right now are Jakiro, and he's mid, he's been getting picked off, and speaking of, we're going to see bottom a double kill. Darkseer and Mirana kill each other down by the tier 2.
Well, Sven was coming in, tried to back up. Havos has finished a Mask of Madness. This is very unconventional as far as Mirana builds go, but we're going to see that hard carry, that glass cannon coming out from him, probably look for, immediately go for some hard damage item after the Mask of Madness to sort of utilize that attack speed you're getting. Either the MKB, maybe a crit, something with some big right-click damage. But it's Na'Vi who are finding themselves on the back foot here slightly. Something which happened a bit against AL. They were behind by about 2-3 gold there, so not a completely unfamiliar position for them. But they're still, they're struggling here. It's a TA with a lot of farm, Tiny with a lot of farm as well.
The thing that I'm wondering is if the TA wants to go for a fast BKB in this situation just to ensure that you can get in and out of the team fights, or do you still want to go with a blink and rely on your Tiny to try to carry the mid game? That's the question that 3D Max is going to have to ask themselves, because in all honesty, if there's a fast BKB on this TA, I don't know if Na'Vi's going to have the damage to really take her out, because Mask of Madness on the Mirana is one thing, but he just doesn't hit that hard. He hits for barely 100 damage. The Sven is a support Sven, so he doesn't have any farm. God Strength is great, but without anything really to follow it up, I just don't know if they're going to have anything to do with the TA.
Yeah, and it really seems like this is a game where TA is going to have to spend a lot of time on the front lines. You look at these 3D Max support, Venomancer, Keep It Light, they're going to be squishy. They've got to really just stick nice and far back, so a fast BKB could be fantastic.
Dendy looks like he's going to be dropping here. Shackle goes off. Is he actually going to live through this? He pops the wand, power shot to follow, and Dendy gets the kill anyway on Templar Assassin. Nice turnaround. Battle Hunger goes off. Are they going to dive to this? Puppey's going to continue to chase. Nice blind, knocks 2 heroes back. I feel like with that Mask of Madness, Vos really wants to chase this. A couple more auto attacks. Battle Hunger's still on. I believe he will die. He's going to try to TP, but doesn't work.
Well, Na'Vi, this is, I guess, their lineup finally coming to fruition here. They get the Battle Hunger kills. The fast mech from Puppey helps keep Dendi alive there. I think it would have been just okay regardless, but with this mech up, Na'Vi, they're going to look to really extend some sort of a lead here. They've got this max out Liquid Fire. They really think they can just take down towers and take them down fast.
Well, now that they've assembled pretty much all of their team in the middle lane, the only one not here is the support Sven, who's now found some time to farm because of the rotation from the rest of his team. They can push this really easily, like you were talking about. Liquid Fire is just so good for these early game towers, and at the moment, 3D Max hasn't yet reacted themselves. They still have 2 heroes sitting top, and they're going to have to try to defend this because they don't have a glyph.
Yeah, it's really ridiculous how strong that Liquid Fire can be. 3D Max trying to go in here. They've got the phase boots on the TA, but TA we've already seen Refraction just gets completely torn to pieces. Does take that Liquid Fire here, and that's going to be the end of that Refraction. Na'Vi, they're sort of retreating here, but they're not really. They've got the mech back up on Puppey. They can look to go in once again. They've got to be worried about this Tiny, though, who comes in with the combo. Mech up, keeps Dendi alive, and it's Tiny. He's getting the fight turned around here. Puppey on the front lines, trying to do as much damage as possible. Dendi does end up dropping Templar Assassin once more, wants to keep on chasing. Trap on cooldown. Now back up. It's going to be Light of Heaven they go for. Windrun is popped. Phase Boots back online as well. Na'Vi get out of there just with the one loss.
That actually could have went a whole lot worse. The stun toss combination came out, and because of the fact that Axe had a mech, interestingly enough, not sure how often I've said that, but the Axe had a mech, so basically it took a lot longer to take Dendi out, and ultimately allowed the rest of Na'Vi to get away.
Yeah, and Arsat the entire time just farming at this bottom lane. You mentioned that earlier, and this is going to allow him to get those points in Warcry. He's already got the 2 to negate that melt, and just get some own farm for himself. Get that next big item that he needs, even if it's just something like Arcane Boots to help provide some bonus firepower for this Na'Vi push. Na'Vi, they want to defend their tier 1 mid tower. They're going to actually look for some kills here. Battle Hunger giving Puppey movement speed. Also going to try chase down some of these heroes, but it's really hard to chase when there's a Darkster on the other side of the map.
I'm really curious as to what item Havos is actually going to be building next, because Na'Vi just seems content to keep running down middle, buying some time for the rest of their team to farm. And this is a little bit of an intimidation factor. It's just they keep running at you, and you have to react to it to a certain extent. They're going to be able to get the tier 2. Looks like they tried to go for a deny, but TA wasn't quite fast enough. Puppey behind enemy lines, though, going to get galed while we see TA chasing down Dendi as well. There's the macro pyre. There's actually 3 here. Gets vacuumed back, and I think he's going to be dropping in one more auto attack. Keeper actually gets the kill, and Puppey is still here. No one has focused him at all. Now they're going to start going in. A little bit of body blocking going on by Ace, trying to find some juke spot, but Gale is just such a good slow. It finally wears off. He's trying to make his way back to the tower. Is anyone coming? It looks like Winter is coming in for a shackle. Can Light of Heaven actually save them? TA trap goes off. He does land a shackle on 2, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Puppey is just so tanky. Finally gets taken down, and TA wanted to continue chasing, but unfortunately just no follow-up.
Puppey takes so long to kill, and really smart decision from 3D Max there. They go for the Jakiro first. If they try kill Puppey, Puppey just fights him off, buys time for Dendi to get off a couple ice paths, get off some liquid fire attacks, and then suddenly 3D Max find themselves not getting those kills. But by going for Dendi first, they get 2 kills out of it. They get Puppey as well, which is a lot of gold going their way. It's a level 12 axe being picked off.
Well, at this point, Navi's got to have some confidence because Arsart still has yet to come to a team fight. He's been sitting in this bottom lane for probably the last 5 or 6 minutes, and he's sitting around 1,900 gold, so my assumption is that he might be going for a fast Blink Dagger, which would give Na'Vi even more initiation on top of the fact that Mirana, interestingly enough, even with the change to the ultimate in terms of mana cost, still hasn't picked it up at this point. And Na'Vi, I'm kind of feeling at some point is going to want to try to play this a little bit more aggressive, abuse that Liquid Fire that we've been talking about the entire game, and try to get some map control, because late, Tiny is a very scary carry, and because of the fact that you have a Mirana who's gone Mask of Madness and Drum, her carry potential isn't going to be that great, because these items, while cost effective, they do take up precious inventory slots.
Yeah, to me, these items just say Na'Vi, they want to really go for that group up and push very soon. The Drum of Endurance giving them the aura. You've got Mask of Madness just to help take down towers just that little bit faster. And Havos, mind games. He knew it was coming. He baits it out, turns around just in time, dodges the avalanche. They're really smart play from him. And Na'Vi, they now look to go on the aggressive at this top lane. They want to try find those kills under the tower. They're quite happy to dive this with Puppey being as tank as he is.
The Keeper of the Light, though, is such a good counter pusher. We saw Hawaii right there to start off 1 Illuminate, totally disintegrates Navi's creep wave. They're going to be able to get to the tower, and with both having a DD, I think that 3D Max is going to try to stop this, but Puppey goes in, gets Mana Leak, throws off a Battle Hunger onto Hawaii, who is now retreating back towards the base, but the Urn actually might not even be enough to keep him alive as the tower tier 1 drops.
Even with 600 HP, it's just so easy for Na'Vi just to, even without a creep wave, they just take it down. Liquid Fire slows down the tower's DPS by 50%.
Oh, that was such a good toss right there from Noi. He actually threw the Keeper of the Light into the neutrals to make sure that he died to them instead of the Battle Hunter. Really, really sick play coming out of the Tiny.
Well, Na'Vi, even with that kill being denied, they're looking to just pound away on this tier 2 tower here. They've got it, it's still sitting on full HP. Na'Vi just dropping Battle Hungers left, right, and center. And this is causing 3D Max a lot of problems, especially a hero like Venomancer. Maxed out Battle Hunger just whittles away at him. That's going to get him below half HP. And even the Tiny, this is not fun for him. He hasn't got the HP regen to stay at this top lane. And Na'Vi are just waiting for that creep wave to catch up. Sven Arsat has joined them, and it is the Blink Dagger that you were expecting.
Now this is just the axe effect like you were talking. You just get battle hungered once and you pretty much have to retreat. You can see teleport reaction coming in though from 3D Max. Dude actually want to take this, tosses a range creep out onto Mirana, but everyone is pretty much just standing here. The one downside though is the longer you push into this, the Jakiro's Liquid Fire is going to eventually whittle this tower down. There's not going to be much you can do about it. If you allow him to walk in, get those auto attacks off like that, Na'Vi will eventually be able to siege it.
I like what 3D Max is doing. They've got the Dark Sip on him. He's just pressuring, he's just chipping away at this tower, forcing TPs back, and it's Winter who's retreated just to defend this lane. So 3D Max have kept this top tier 2 tower alive. Na'Vi back off. They're going to continue to farm here, try get Havos, his next big item for the Mirana, try get Light of Heaven. Well, looks to be possible rushing an Orchid Malevolence here. He's got 2 Sobi masks, and with that, it's going to be maybe the Silent Stick, being his first item of choice, not the 4-staff, which he sort of generally goes for.
Orchid is a great choice here if you think about it, because if you Orchid the Templar Assassin, 1 auto attack and a dual breath coming out from Jakiro, the refraction's pretty much gone. They also have Battle Hunger, so when they focus those high priority heroes, there's pretty much no one on 3D Max that they couldn't go on with an Orchid, and I think that's pretty much why he made the item choice. But so far, Na'Vi is still behind in kills. The farm is actually going a little bit in their favor, of course. They've managed to get some under 2 towers, whereas 3D Max has fallen a bit behind in that regard. But the longer the game goes on, TA is rushing straight for BKB, which means that eventually she'll be able to walk into those team fights, and again, because Sven is not bought carry items at all, he's just an initiator at this point, he's not going to have the physical damage needed to really carry in a late game.
Yeah, I feel if it does go late enough, 3D Max do have the better lineup with the TA, the Tiny, with those 2 carries, BKB on the TA. Darkseer as well, just great for stalling, great for taking these late game teamfights. The problem is right now, Tiny is just pretty much on par with the Axe as well as the Mirana. So as far as farm goes, Na'Vi slightly ahead. A lot of that coming down to that tower gold, and that's something that Na'Vi are going to look to keep on getting. These last couple out of tier 2 towers probably will drop quickly if Na'Vi want to group up and go for them.
I think Na'Vi really does want to push. They have such a good lineup for it. Their team fight is also amazingly strong. Mirana now has her ultimate, so whenever they want to go into a team fight, they can just initiate with the invisibility. There's no sentries placed anywhere on the map right now for 3D Max. They could really abuse that one initiation because it only takes 1 or 2 to really get a tower and just take away the rest of the map control that 3D Max has, which isn't much at this point.
Yeah, 3D Max are just saying on their side, they don't want to have anything to do with this Na'Vi lineup now. That Axe is just getting so damn tanky. He's got a Vanguard as well as the mech on top of that, 1600 HP. Light of Heaven, slightly more on the squishy side. He has gone back to what looks to be, well, probably a 4-star, but could even be a fast Yule Scepter for himself with these Sage's masks. He can turn one of those into a Yule Scepter. But for now, Na'Vi, they're just happy to sit back. Even behind a couple of kills here, they've just got such a greater map control with all these towers pushed down, not to mention these items being picked up. Havos with a broadsword. He's finished off with Crystallis. This is going to be pure DPS coming out from him.
It's going to be interesting to see because if he gets caught with that build by anything like a stun toss with a Mask of Madness on, 1000 HP is not enough to live through that. You're going to take way too much damage during that time. He's going to be relying solely on his positioning. Hopefully Puppey and AA can get out in the front of the fight and just stop them from initiating on Mirana, because if they do, most of their physical damage at that point is pretty much gone. And they're going to have to rely on Puppey just being that tank that he is right now. Actually picked up a Vanguard on top of his mech.
Yeah, he is pure glass cannon, and something I love that 3D Max are doing is they're stacking this Ancient Camp here, something which Tiny can quickly farm later. Once he's got that Aghanim stepped up, he's gone back for this Yasha, so give himself some more attack speed. But once the Ags is there, he'll get his next big item, the Assault Crest or whatever, up very, very fast, having this big Ancient stack here to use.
Yeah, Sashak on the bottom lane. Light Heaven managed to latch to TA, but unfortunately there was just no follow-up. And I'm kind of with you. Everybody just seems content with the farm at this point, and I'm not really sure if it's such a good idea if you're Na'Vi, because, I mean, yeah, Mirana does a lot of damage at this point, but you're putting all your eggs in one basket. All it takes is one bad initiation for you to lose a team fight. If you lose your physical damage that early on, then things become much, much more difficult for you. And when you have a Darkseer, initiating on anyone is very simple. Vacuum is such a huge range. You can surge somebody into the team fight. The Tiny at this point has his Yasha and a point booster, so he's going for that Aghanim spill that we saw at TI2. I think Lanham was the one who played that, but this is a point where a Tiny is a very hard carry.
Big arrow, finds the TA, but nope, no backup. Havos decides to retreat there. 3D Max are gathered around this mid lane, and the problem is they're playing so defensive, so far on their side of the map. Despite being up 10 kills to 6, they're behind on XP. They're about 4k XP behind. Gold-wise, they're about 5k behind, and Na'Vi are just out-farming them, despite not having the better of the late game. We're going to see a Jakiro with an Ag Scepter. We're going to have Sven get up his next big item. We're going to have what looks to be an Orchid, as well as a 4-staff coming out on Light of Heaven. All these heroes are going to be able to take it late game if they have the item advantage, something which 3D Max just are struggling with. They're not being as efficient with their time when it comes to farming.
We kind of hit on that a bit earlier, too. When they were walking down middle as 4, Na'Vi was basically just using the intimidation factor and saying, you know what, we can sit here as 4, and you still feel a little bit hesitant to initiate on us, which allowed Arzard to get that Blink Dagger up in a relatively quick timing. I mean, a support Sven at 20 minutes who already has a Blink and a Bracer is actually pretty darn farmed. They have the initiation potential. They can take fights whenever they want. In all honesty, Na'Vi just feels confident in being more efficient farmers than 3D Max at this point.
Yeah, and the Blink Dagger for Sven hasn't even been used yet, so it's something which Na'Vi are just happy to invest in for the later stage of this game. Na'Vi, they're going to be careful. Havost at the top lane does get back in immediately, dodges the avalanche coming out from Tiny, and Havost escapes. He is really squishy. If that avalanche hits, he goes down without a doubt. 3D Max forced to retreat. They can't really follow this up with any sort of aggression once the gig is up.
At this point, you really have to look for picks if you're 3D Max, talking about smoke, trying to get somebody so you can get Na'Vi off your side of the map. It becomes significantly more difficult to come back at all if you can't even pick off one hero. We're going to see a Gale hit Arzard in the middle lane, but there's not going to be any follow-up here. The rest of 3D Max is a bit too far. But they need to push Na'Vi out of their side of the map, do some counter warding to get their map control back, because if they don't, they're just going to get smothered by Na'Vi's gold lead. Yeah,
I feel they're really waiting for this BKB on TA. They've just now got it in. And TA, despite getting that first blood, hasn't managed to get the fastest items up. We're looking at a 22-minute BKB here, but now with this, now's the time for 3D Max to try get some control over their side of the map. Maybe look to de-ward some of the one ward which Na'Vi's put down in their jungle and just get some greater map control. They've got the level 2 Darkseer wall of Ref as well.
Yeah, they're going to initiate the team fight right here. Vacuum goes off. Wool goes down immediately. Arrow is actually going to be a little bit off the market there. There comes a call from Puppey. And Noe's in a lot of trouble. They're managing to take the Tiny down first. That's bad news. There goes the Poison Nova. But Hayek is also in trouble, running off to the right-hand side. Is he going to be able to make it out in time? A couple more auto attacks. The blind's keeping him alive, but not quite long enough. BKB was popped by the Templar Assassin, trying to go on anybody. But there's just too much damage coming out. Another arrow comes out from Havost. Hits right onto Ace. And the auto attack damage from the rest of Na'Vi should be enough to seal the deal.
And Na'Vi's item advantage just really being highlighted there. They focus down the Tiny first. And as soon as that's done, what do 3D Max actually have to offer? That's their main source of damage. The Darkseer wall didn't really catch enough there in that team fight. And TA, despite having a BKB, the BKB was used entirely defensively just to get the hell out of there. And 3D Max, they lose 3. They're going to lose a Roshan as well to Na'Vi, who are going to probably put this Aegis onto, well, I imagine Havost, who's going to be having that Daedalus very soon. He is ridiculously squishy. But Na'Vi, they are just in a position where they can take down these last couple of outer towers. They can just take a couple more fights now with this big item lead of theirs. Puppey's got this mech, which has just been helping win these team fights for Na'Vi.
Now, Puppey actually takes the Aegis, being the one who pretty much wants to lead the charge. I'm actually a bit surprised they didn't give it to Arzard. If your thought process is, we want to give it to somebody who's going to be running into team fights, who better to give it to than a hero who already has a blink and doesn't have the same survivability as Puppey does anyway. So I guess it ultimately doesn't matter. They're quite far ahead at this point. It's going to take a pretty fumbled team fight for 3D Max to get themselves back into this game.
Yeah, 3D Max. And the one thing which will allow them to capitalize on a mistake from Na'Vi in those team fights is going to be this Ag Scepter for Tiny. They need to have that big AoE cleave coming in. They need some additional damage from him. And right now, 3D Max forced to play defensive, forced to just get some more farmer. TA not a hero who can really afford to do that, because we're not going to be seeing another item in this TA for quite some time. So 3D Max, they've got the mech on the Keeper of the Light as well, so they're not terribly off as far as item progression goes, even on these support heroes. But when you look at Na'Vi, there's just a big difference.
Yeah, they have a huge item lead, but they've actually fallen back to their side of the map, which does give 3D Max a little bit of relief here. They're able to farm their jungle. They have a Keeper of the Light, which means that jungle stacking is obviously going to be to their advantage. He actually hasn't maxed Illuminate, by the way. He's only got 3 points into it at level 9, which is a little bit strange. Typically, Illuminate and Chakra are the two that you max pretty much immediately, and if you want to get 1 point into Mana Leak in a tri-lane versus a solo, that's pretty common as well. But it seems as though he's just not really relying on farming that much.
Yeah, and this, not to mention farming, but also just stopping Na'Vi when they want to push, as well as maximizing your damage in these team fights. Dendi at mid lane does cop a Gale. Is there going to be any follow-up aggression here? This is a big risk for 3D Max going onto this high ground. They don't know what's waiting for them. It's going to be just Puppey. Maybe a fight they want to try to take with what looks to be a 4v2 scenario. Dendi does cop the Venomancer ultimate, but Na'Vi can shrug off most of this damage. They've got the mech there. Puppey's got an Urn, which he'll probably use on Dendi as well if he needs to. But 3D Max just wasting a lot of time in this mid lane. Meanwhile, they lose their bottom tier 2 tower, and they're not managing to really do enough damage to Na'Vi at mid.
It seems like they want to try to take some semblance of a team fight, but they're just playing so scared. They don't really have a whole lot of vision other than the Venom wards at this point. And they're going to be chased back. Case, though, on Murata. Looks like the teamfight's going to start. Noya actually eats a stun to the face and an arrow on the Templar Assassin. There goes the blind. Arzard's actually stuck all by himself, but the rest of 3D Max just doesn't want any part of this fight at all. They're trying to retreat. Wall goes down from Ace. A nice vacuum, though, manages to hit 4. And we're going to see Havost in a bit of trouble. One more auto attack will take Keeper down in the back of the fight. And Puppey is in enemy lines right now, taking on Noya. Gets tossed up into the air, but he's just so tanky. They can't even kill him once, much less twice. And the rest of 3D Max looks like they're going to be falling here. There's the call right on the Templar Assassin. Ice Path goes off, hits Ace. He's stuck in a macro pyre right now, trying to do anything that he can can. If they kill Puppey once, he's just going to respawn. More auto attacks coming out from Avos, but Avos actually dies. Nice avalanche toss coming out from Noya. The power shot barely off the mark, but the Battle Hunger and the Ice Path auto attack kill right there. Actually, I believe that Tiny dropped to Battle Hunger, so Na'Vi takes another team fight. They managed to take down 4, lose Arzart in the process, but Aegis still stands on Axe.
Yeah, Na'Vi just kite the Tiny around as well as the TA. They've got these long-range heroes, they've got 4 staffs up as well, and Dendi really tanky at this point. There's just not enough damage coming out of 3D Max, and 3D Max forced to defend, forced to now to stay as far back as possible. Havos just going man mode here. He wants the Venomancer Battle Hunger. Couldn't finish off the job here. Venomancer needs to get back to this fountain, needs to do so soon. He's not going to go for it. He does get mech'd up by the Keeper of the Light, but Na'Vi just pounding away on these tier 3 towers. Nothing to defend this. Dendi with his liquid fire doing a lot of damage to this tower as well, and it's going to be the tier 3 tower going down. 3D Max may force Na'Vi back. It's going to be hard to go for this set of Raxus here. Na'Vi already very, very low, taking a lot of damage here.
Yeah, more Illuminates coming out. Here comes 3D Max, though. Mana Leak onto Dendi isn't going to be able to stun him in time. It looks like he actually stopped anyway. Puppey's going to get vacuumed back in. There's the Gale. Actually misses. Mech is popped. 1 melt attack. Not enough to kill Dendi. It looks like T actually turns around and Ace dies in the process. But no, the Illuminate picks up Dendi over by the woods. Puppey is taking a lot of fire now. He's trying to get away, but he does have that Aegis still to be root popping in just a second. Arrow going to be a little bit off the mark. Leap out right there from Havos, trying to get himself out. And Puppey is stuck here currently with 4 members of 3D Max. Is his team going to come in his system? He repops, immediately stun Avalanche. The Gale goes off as well. Mana Leak, and I don't think they're going to be able to stop it. Oh, nice stun coming out from Arzart, and the God Strength! Puppey dies to the Illuminate regardless, and now Havos is chasing with Arzart. God Strength popped. Battle Hunger on Hayak inside of the base. He should eventually drop here. Nice blind coming out from Hawaii, trying to make his way back into the base himself. Mechanism is popped. Are they going to be able to get anyone? Nice stun toss combination actually takes out Havos, and the double kill. Big tree swing coming out, and getting himself 2 kills in the process.
Not a hero you want to be giving it a double kill at this point in the game. Sure, Na'Vi have a big advantage, are getting kill after kill, but even a 12k gold, though, Tiny in the late game, you lose one team fight, Tiny can just tear through your base. He's got the Acceptor, he's got the drums, the Yasha. We're going to see him start building probably towards that Hyperstone, and Keeper of the Light doing a lot of damage in that team fight. With those Illuminates, Na'Vi get forced back without having taken that Rax, just the tier 3 tower on the high ground, and 3D Max still in this game, still looking to contest against Na'Vi. And if 3D Max take this game, they will be in a position to go through that group stage. They're currently sitting on 1-1, Na'Vi 2-0, and then we could be in a position where we see somewhat of a tie if Na'Vi lose this game.
And middle lane, Dendi in a bit of trouble here too, getting body blocked by Ace. Are they going to be able to get him? That is some really good body blocking. Gets blinded back, the Gale goes off. Dendi is absolutely done for. No team in sight. Throws out the macro fire and the dual breath to try to get some kind of a rebuttal kill, but it's not going to be enough as Hawaii pops the mech. And like he said, this game just got a whole lot scarier for Na'Vi. Maybe they messed around a little bit too much. Maybe the Mask of Madness on the Murata was a little bit too risky. I mean, he still does a tremendous amount of damage, just that you can get caught out. And if you do, you're an instant kill right now for 3D Max.
Yeah, that TP towards mid lane, cancelled by Na'Vi, recognizing that was not a good idea. T1 tower, a very important tower for 3D Max, gets taken out finally. Something they've been working on for some time here. Oh, Murana, there goes the ultimate. They're all invis. Are Na'Vi going to look to go in this? I think 3D Max caught wind of what was up. Arsat in the front lines going in. It's actually Murana coming off from the side. Solo kills the Keeper of the Light. Stun from Sven, hits 2, and Arsat looking for some follow-up. Havos still getting zoned out of this fight. He wants to come back in. Shackle shot on TA. Oh, everything bought by Refraction. In goes Tiny. He's got the Acceptor. He's going to pound away. Takes out Arsat. Sven goes down. Havos still sitting on the backline, still trying to go in here. He's getting scattered by traps here, so great play from this TA, spotting out all his movements and not giving him any openings to get another kill.
Dendi TP's back in. Looks like Na'Vi wants to try to engage. The wall is still down. 3D Max can't fight around this. Arrow just barely misses right there from Havos. Noya almost ate one right in the face right there. They're trying to get back to their side of the map, but Venomancer might get caught out. They do have vision. No stun though. Can they get him in time? The Shackle and the Taunt both go off. And Venomancer is going to drop as the rest of 3D Max continues to retreat. At this point though, Na'Vi still feeling a little bit shaky in these team fights as Tiny is just dominating them so badly, does so much damage. Once the stun toss combination is usually enough to take any while. He does have that invis and an ion shell. Are they going to go right here onto Havos? There's a stun, there's the toss. He popped the Mask of Madness. He waited for it. He took out Havos right away. Puppey now taking a lot of hits as well, but I think he's actually going to be forced back. Even though it's just Puppey, these two heroes are very scared of an Axe.
Oh yeah, the Axe, one call from Culling Blade from this ultimate will quickly end this Axe. It's maxed out. He's level 18 right now.
Oh, look at this
Puppey
creep
is
stack.
the highest level in the game.
Ancient creep stack.
Oh,
Puppey's stealing it.
Tiny had been hoping to get those for quite some time here. But Puppey comes in, steals most of it, and Puppey, I'm wondering, where is he going as far as I'm concerned? He's finished off with Shiva's Guard. He's got Mech and Vanguard. He is looking very, very rich right now. He's almost up there as one of the top 3 net worths. He's really keeping on par with the Tiny as well as the Murana. Havos, despite having all these items, you can see there just how squishy he can be. One Tiny combo, and he goes down. He hasn't got the BKB, hasn't got any raw HP to survive that sort of aggression. from 3D Max if they can latch on. The problem is it's just really tiny. They haven't got really a setup stun coming from the supports. The Venomancer, the Keeper of the Light, not the best for locking down the Mirana.
Once this Tiny gets a BKB, if that is his next item, BKB Tiny at this point, they don't really have a lot of answers for it. Honestly, Tiny can go in, try to kill Havos right away. He has a lot of relief from his team, so I feel as though once he gets that magic immunity, you don't have to worry about the blink initiation from Sven anymore. The Jakiro damage is non-existent, plus it's a 30-minute, 10-second BKB, which is much more impactful because if you win those team fights, it's going to be a much, much bigger deal. You're able to kill those base towers that much faster, get the racks down, and honestly, at that point, Na'Vi is going to be a little bit worried.
Yeah, the one thing Na'Vi have going for them is the ability just to sort of kite around the Tiny. Even with the BKB, they've got the 4-staff on Windrunner. They've got the leap for the Mirana. Axe is just pretty damn tanky. They've got Warcry. Warcry as well will negate some of this damage. So they've got the ability to sort of survive and just try endure the 10-second BKB. And if they can prevent Tiny from getting too many big team fights with the 10-second BKB, over time we'll get down to that 6-second, 5-second BKB, and then it's a lot easier to handle for Na'Vi. Na'Vi, though, they just want to go marching down this middle lane. Tiny doesn't have the BKB yet, just sitting on 3.5k gold, and Na'Vi no. Roshan getting close to respawning as well, something they want to try push out these lanes for, so they can get that creep equilibrium where they want it to be, so they can take it pretty easy, Roshan.
Now, this is just experience showing in from Na'Vi, and to be totally honest, this is the kind of style they adopted during the mid-game where they were winning. They were just aggressively positioning themselves on 3D Max's side of the map and just making it so anytime you want a team fight, you weren't able to really get a whole lot out of it. Obviously, Roshan's going to be respawning, like you said, so they want to make sure all the lanes are pushed. But if you take a fight inside the Rosh pit and 3D Max manages to get there in time, we're talking about a Darkseer, a Venomancer, who at this point has level 2 ultimate, which is still a pretty significant amount of damage for the supports, and you're fighting on top of a wall. There's basically no way to get around it. If you get vacuumed in that pit, you are going to be hurting badly.
Yeah, for Na'Vi, they need to find those open spaces. They can't fight in bottlenecks, otherwise the Darkseer Tiny will just rip through them. I love this pickup from Darkseer. He's gone back for a flag here, giving some bonus damage to his whole team, not to mention Tiny, a hero with a heap of base damage, really benefiting from that. You get the lifesteal as well. And Na'Vi, they're avoiding the team fights. They're just trying to take down these outer towers. It's going to be top lane, this last tier 2 tower that they want, and there's your BKB. Tiny, possibly ready to go here. He's got these TPs in. He needs to sell his magic stick to create room, but we could see 3D Max possibly even trying to defend a tier 2 tower here.
And we're seeing the strength of Keeper of the Light as well. He's popped his ultimate, he's just spamming Illuminate, killing the creep wave. It really only takes one nuke after this point to get it completely down. Even the Plague Wards are enough, but Havost is just beating on this tower. He does so much damage, has that Yasha and the Daedalus completely finished. Puppey, though, way out of position, gonna get initiated on pops of Shiva's. Air's gonna come out, actually hits Noya. That is a huge problem. He doesn't pop the BKB just yet. Ace throws on the wall, hits a vacuum on 2. BKB also popped by the Templar Assassin, continuing to chase. Arsart and Dendy both gonna get slowed by that Psionic Trap. They're continuing. Nice shackle, though, from Light of Heaven. Here comes the BKB on the Tiny, though. He goes right on the Dendy, turns around, actually, and starts hitting on Puppey, instead gets called, and now we're going to see Ace in a lot of trouble as well, tanking Arzard, actually gets mana leaked and runs into his stun. Another Ice Path comes out, going to be able to take out Darkseer. Templar Assassin has bought back. Arrow going to be way off the mark right there from Havos, and Light of Heaven wants another shackle. Unfortunately, the creep wave did spawn, but not quite in a position to land a shackle, and Havos, or excuse me, Light of Heaven might actually get away from here.
Despite Tiny being a fantastic late game carry, when you can't actually attack the targets you like, you've got Axe with a ton of armor calling you in, you've got the Warcry from Sven giving them just all this bonus armor. Tiny getting largely negated here despite his massive farm, despite having that BKB up now. He got arrowed early on, so he couldn't find the initiation where he wanted. He got forced to go into the fight a bit too late for his liking, and by then Na'Vi already on top, had picked off some of those key heroes. Darkseer had already dropped the wall of replica, and Na'Vi now in a position where they can take out Roshan, get the Aegis for themselves, second Roshan of the game, and 3D Max unable to contest this.
Honestly, that arrow initiation from the Mirana right there pretty much won Na'Vi the team fight. Noya was out of the fight for so long, he was unable to really do any initiation whatsoever. And speaking of Blink up to the high ground, Denny throws out an Ice Path onto Hawaii. There comes Arzard with the stun as well, and a shackle coming out from Light of Heaven. And that's going to be a very, very dead Keeper of the Light. He buys back into the game, but TA is completely out of position. Pops the BKB. He's going to try to TP back to base. Is he going to make it in time? Wow. That Focus Fire does so much damage, they almost killed him before he was able to TP back to base.
And Keeper of the Light forced to buy back just to defend this push, just to try to defend these mid-Raxes here. Na'Vi, Aegis on their side, and they go in, they kill the Keeper of the Light before they even finish off Roshan, which is the great thing there, that they know there's going to be heroes trying to contest it, that they can pick off, get some kills here. Now they go high ground, now they want these set of Raxes at mid. Dendy with the Liquid Fire going to help burst them down fast. They've got Sven, Moran, so much damage. Wall of Replica does get popped, but doesn't really hit enough, I believe, and Puppey in the front lines just taking things up. He's got the Shivers, he's got plenty of HP. Mech and Urn Charge is still there if he needs those heals. Another arrow going to go flying through, doesn't land, doesn't hit the mark. But Na'Vi, they're just trying to stall this out. They know the Wall of Replica going to expire soon. And once that's gone, that's probably where Na'Vi look to go high ground.
Well, yeah, so I have an Aegis as well, so things are going to be looking a little bit grim here for 3D Max, and the wall placement is actually not that great either. Typically, you want to put it the way he's facing right now, so it actually blocks the staircase, and Na'Vi just doesn't even care. They know they have full map control. They're just going to back up, continue their farm. When they bought back for that top team fight, they lost one. They knew that 3D Max was probably behind on gold. They weren't going to be able to buy back and contest the Roshan. The Darkseer was dead the entire time. Ace couldn't get to the pit, and that's the one most important here that they absolutely had to kill if they were going to try to take Roshan. So Na'Vi, at this point, I can't even really fault 3D Max for that many mistakes. It's more just the experience of Na'Vi is kind of overpowering them.
Yeah, so far 3D Max, I mean, they're behind. They're looking at the gold graph now, 15,000 gold in going the way of Na'Vi, and looking at, wow, 20,000 XP for Na'Vi, but the kills so far has been there for 3D Max. They found whatever openings they could, but Na'Vi just playing a very efficient game, a much more refined game, maximizing their farm, winning the team fights they should, and the kills that 3D Max are getting have so far mostly been sort of small-scale pickoffs. You look at the heroes they've been killing, and it has been mostly heroes. The Jakiro at mid lane, who isn't really one of the key Na'Vi heroes come late game time.
Yeah, they committed a lot to Dendi as well. They really wanted to give that TA some breathing room, which ideally is what you want, because you want to allow the TA to try to snowball, but it just hasn't been seen. Dendi actually going to blink out right there, gets TA trapped, and blinks up to the high ground, going to be safe for the moment. But buying the TA space is definitely a good idea, but because of the fact that he was forced into a fast BKB, normally you would see Templar Assassins going for the aggressive build, Blink Dagger, sometimes even a Desolator after that for the BKB. Top lane, we're going to see Arzard actually getting caught out by Ace, going to see his stun come off, but he's actually going to be able to TP back. He uses Vacuum already. Nice awareness right there from Arzard, knowing there was no interrupt, manages to get himself out of trouble, and now he has a BKB.
Wow, now the item progression is just insane right now. You've got Windrunner, Orchid, almost finished off a full Daedalus with the 4-star, BKB on Sven, Jakiro starting to build, I imagine going to be the Yule Scepter, just so if he gets ganked, you can pop the Yule Scepter, then blink on out of there. You've got Mirana, Daedalus, probably going to have that Manta Style any second now. As actually, no, it's going to be an MKB maybe. There's 2 Javelins sitting at base here for Havos with this Mirana. And then Puppey, he's got 5k gold on himself. That could be a Heart of Taras, any big item that he wants, maybe an Assault Cuirass. The late game items from Na'Vi is just going to be too much for 3D Max to defend probably.
Even the Windrunner is just so far, and we saw how much damage the Focus Fire from Light of Heaven did to the Templar Assassin. I mean, she almost died with the BKB on trying to teleport out with a Refract pre-pop. So the damage physical-wise is definitely there for Na'Vi. They have very tanky heroes who can walk out in front. I mean, Axe is going to have a heart soon. He's actually only a couple hundred away from it at this point, and when that happens, you really do have to worry about, can you actually stem the tide and stop him from just walking into your base and giving Na'Vi the initiation they need? Honestly, even if Puppey didn't do anything and just walked into them, they would probably still run away.
Yeah, Puppey is just unkillable, and this Heart of Taras is going to really make him exponentially harder to kill. For Na'Vi, they are showing that they want to take this Dreamhack Winter Championship, something that's eluded them so far. The last 2 Dreamhacks having been taken by MTW, and Na'Vi are here. They want to take this one. They are, right now, in a great position to finish their group 3-0. They're already sitting on 2 wins, no losses, having taken down Absolute Legends as well as Out of Tangos. And right now, in a very good position here against 3D Max. 3D Max just stuck in their own base, stuck, sitting there, waiting for openings, which aren't going to come their way. 3D Max just are not farming, while Na'Vi are saying they're in no rush to push, because look at these item progression for their entire team. 3D Max have no way to win a late game teamfight with just a tiny.
Well, they do still have the Keeper of the Light who's able to push out the lanes, but ultimately that Illuminate isn't going to do a whole lot once the Axe picks up his heart. They're actually just going to walk right up into the high ground and look to push.
Yeah, Havos just going to try to focus down these racks here. Forces out a very early glyph. Actually takes a full damage Illuminate with the Mask of Madness. That's going to hurt him. But Sven just going man mode on the front lines. He's popped his BKB as well as his ultimate. Na'Vi can actually maybe be forced to back off here. Arrow finds the Darkseer. Can they focus him down before he gets off a wall of Repco or a Vacuum? Doesn't look like it. It's going to be Na'Vi forcing on the back foot here. Great Vacuum followed by some tiny cleaves. They've taken out Sven. They want more. BKB from this tiny, doing some wonders here. Templar Assassin on the front lines, gets called back in, does get focused down. They get rid of the Aegis on Havos, and 3D Max, a fantastic engagement for them. The wall from the Darkseer, Light of Heaven, one more right click, not going to land. It does get dodged by the Windrunner, and Na'Vi, they find themselves in a bad fight. Dendi going to try TP out from the high ground. Light of Heaven lucky to survive as well. Great engagement from 3D Max.
That was a really awkward team fight from Na'Vi. They landed the arrow on Ace, and it looked like Dendi wanted to go for it. He threw out the Ice Path and the Macro Pirate, but he put himself in such a bad position that 3D Max pretty much just had to go for it. Vacuum's going to miss, actually, on Light of Heaven here as he runs away. But there's so much damage on Na'Vi, they just really can't stand to the damage of 3D Max, and they're going to get forced out of the base. Might even lose Light of Heaven here, depending. His Windrunner might be up in time.
Yeah, he does get the silence off. That's going to help keep him alive a bit longer. No Avalanche coming out, but For 3D Max, this buys more time. Tiny going to get up his next big item. Going to start getting towards their Assault Crest. Havos trying to just sneak into mid. Lax forces some TPs back by the looks of things, but I feel Havos just a bit too squishy, and it's really being shown that even with an Aegis, they kill him once and force him away, and he's got no BKB. He's just got this pure damage, this entirely glass cannon type build. He hasn't even got the Manta style to give him some additional survivability.
What's even nicer for 3D Max is the fact that they already have wards out on the map, so as soon as Na'Vi is off of their side, they know exactly where they can go farm, and they go back to their efficient farming immediately. 3D Max is doing a really good job, honestly, of adapting to the situations, and Na'Vi has spent a lot of buybacks during those last couple of team fights. They keep buying back, trying to force the issue, and get inside the base, get a Rax down, but as game goes on, right now, 3,700 gold on this Tiny, and he hasn't bought an item in a while. I'm not sure if it's going to go straight for the AC, or if he wants to finish a Manta, but either way, he becomes infinitely more scary with one more item.
As far as heroes to have when you're behind by 20,000 gold, Tiny is the one hero who can just turn around those late game team fights. Arrow does actually scout a few heroes, vacuum back. Havos needs the time to sleep well, does get out of there. The toss follows TA. Havos in all sorts of trouble. He's got no mana. He's been mana linked up. He's on the run. His movement speed is going to work. Nope, he gets caught by Gale, and Na'Vi lose Havos. Havos with no buyback here. 3D Max, I don't think they can go pushing at this time being, but 80 seconds without Havos. If they get into the enemy base, if they get into Na'Vi's side of the map, they are going to tear through these buildings with Tiny, with this Accept. If he can get up a Hyperstone, get just that Assault Crest coming up soon, 3D Max, even behind by a huge gold margin, can take sets of Raxes if they win a team fight.
Can never underestimate a late game Tiny. They should be able to get a tier 2 at the very least. This one middle is quite low. They do have a glyph, but still 1 minute left on Havos, and that was just really aggressive play. He was trying to pop the Mask of Madness, out damage the backdoor protection mid. Maybe he was trying to force 3D Max out of position, but ultimately look at how fast they can clear these creep waves. Keeper of the Lights isn't even here yet, and that tower is dead to rights. Absolutely no chance. They save the glyph for their base, maybe even the Rax themselves, but if they don't try to defend this, they will get the Rax.
Yeah, glyph being popped now. Na'Vi at the top lane, going for a bit of a counter push here. They know they've got no Moran, but I feel Na'Vi going to have to try to defend this 4v5. Something they can do. Both Sven as well as Winra can pack a punch. They've got Axe for the front lanes to take things up, but Na'Vi just trying to stall. They want that Mirana back up. 25 seconds left on that, and in goes 3D Max. They want this set of Raxes. It's Na'Vi trying to counter push at the top lane, trying to get those set top tags of Raxes. Puppy just going to go running in, trying to stall them by taking things up here. Templar Assassin does focus down the mid. Immediately Barracks, 3D Max, despite the huge disadvantage, are taking it to Na'Vi. Na'Vi, who have not gotten this top Rax. Winrunner is trying to focus down the TA. Now they go back to the Raxes, take a Rax of their own. Both teams trading Raxes in. As far as Na'Vi goes, this is probably the best trade they could have had with Mirana dead.
Yeah, it was nice awareness by Na'Vi knowing that they could just go ahead and teleport to the top lane or walk up there and push it out and then just go ahead and take a Rax of their own. But still, against the Tiny, Havos is actually going to try to kill Templar Assassin here. I don't think it's going to be too successful. Looks like he's going to be able to walk back to his tier 4s and be okay for the moment. But still, 3D Max is not going down without a fight. See a BKB prematurely popped right there, but it's actually going to get dodged by Arzart with the blink. Now he turns around for a toss. Light of Heaven is not done though. One crit. Is he going to be able to get the kill? I do not believe so. There is detection here. Sentry Ward. Is there going to be a Gale? Nice shackle by Light of Heaven. Really well done. Gale goes off. I don't know if it's going to be enough though. Pops the win run, still Gale. Templar Assassin Trap's going to go off, but from the back, he just does so much damage, and Arzart, Light of Heaven, is still alive, and he's not going to drop here at all. The blind goes off, but it just doesn't matter. Havos does so much damage. Unreal with an MKB. The blind does nothing, gods. It does nothing.
It was entirely designed against the blind from the Keeper of the Light. He just got crit after crit that fight. Took down 2 or 3 heroes just in a couple right clicks, and Na'Vi, they say take our mid-racks, well we're just going to storm right back at you. Take the mid-racks of 3D Maxes. 3D Max, they're forced to buy back, forced to try and defend this. Na'Vi, they've taken down the range barracks at mid, and 3D Max have to go in soon. The Wall of Replica is up for Darkseid. They needs to get that off, needs to make sure he hits a couple of heroes. He's been hit from the Loga. He gets focused down. No Wall of Replica. 3D Max in a world of trouble now. Keeper of the Light on the back foot. Crit, crit, crit coming from Havos. Ghost Scepter keeps him alive, not for long. Starfall coming out, and now Templar Assassin going to be the next to try to take down this Mirana. Mirana forced to run away. Toss going to fall him down, but Mirana, Havos does go down. This time he's got a buyback. This time Na'Vi going to not let anyone survive. 3D Max lose their mid set of Raxes, and Na'Vi in a perfect position to take this game.
Another nice shackle on a high. Looks like they want to try to turn around. Stun coming out from Arzart. There's the poison of Adendi. Blinks into the base, looking for an ice path, but BKB's popped by Tiny. Turns around, gets called by Puppy. Macro Fire goes down. First one going to drop is going to be Arzart, but Tiny is soon to follow. Dual Breath going off, coming out from Dendi. The Orchid is popped as well by Light of Heaven. TA is in a lot of trouble. Look at the damage output as the Coal is enough to get the kill. Buyback coming out from Tiny. Noya is going to be able to stop the push for the moment, but honestly, I don't think that Na'Vi really has to go anywhere. They have their entire team inside of the base and bottom. Arzart has got strength. and pushing inside the base. Havos is here, pops the Mask of Madness, aggressively leaps in. Dendi with the Ice Path. He's going to get dodged, though. Noya goes all the way around. Can he make it back to the well? No, he can't. Light of Heaven power shot right before he gets there. The good game, well played, comes out. I got to say, Gods, even though everyone figured that Na'Vi was going to take this game, 3D Max made it exciting.
Wow, towards the end there, I mean, you could look at games where there's a 20,000 gold lead and just think, one-sided stop, but 3D Max, they get one pick-off and they immediately see a window of opportunity where they can get those pick-offs. They can go down the mid lane, get a set of Raxes, but Na'Vi, they stayed calm, they stayed composed, they made sure they got the counteracts, they made sure they won the next team fight, didn't have any more pickoffs coming out of Havos then. Well, 3D Max, like you say, they made it exciting, but Na'Vi just proving, as usual, to be just a bit too strong.
And Na'Vi with a very aggressive style of play. A lot of teams just don't know how to react to it. Again, experience is a pretty big deal in these situations. It just really didn't feel like 3D Max could utilize their advantage to its fullest. There was the one time they managed to get the racks, but most of the game they were sitting either as 3 or 4 heroes, not farming efficiently, and it just hurt them so bad. Imagine if this game had been even a little bit closer in terms of gold, and Na'Vi didn't have buybacks for multiple team fights in a row.
Yeah, and Na'Vi now finish their group off 3-0. They're going to go through into that first round of the playoffs as the #1 seed for their group. Absolute legends, assuming if they win their last match, will be in that #2 seed. But, well, Na'Vi looking fantastic here.
Always look good. Na'Vi, of course, one of the best teams in the world. But let's hear what other people have to say about this game. What do you think, Gabs?
Yeah, absolutely. With that, Na'Vi, they go through 3-0. And welcome back to the desk is Toby as well as James. And what did you think?
Yeah, I don't know if